Hi, I'm Marc, and on this channel I talk about Brexit and UK politics. And there are rumblings in the traditionally pro-Palestinian Labour Party at the moment. Many members are calling on party leader Starmer to call for a ceasefire. And in protest against Starmer's hesitation, some local councillors recently even resigned. Actually, things haven't been going badly for the British Labour Party, which is way ahead in the polls. But now it is a foreign policy issue that is causing trouble. Because of their stance on the Gaza war, pressure is increasing on the leadership of the Social Democratic British Opposition Party. Numerous members, as well as some MPs of the traditionally pro-Palestinian party, are demanding that opposition leader Keir Starmer should condemn the Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip and call for a ceasefire. Numerous Muslim Labour politicians are now putting pressure on Starmer because the handling of the Middle East situation is about votes. Out of a total population of 63.1 million citizens, there are 3.87 million Muslims living in Great Britain, 14 times more than the relatively small group of 270,000 Jews. Around 80% of Muslim votes go to the Labour Party, and depending on the constituencies, their votes in strong Muslim constituencies range from 4 to 14% of the total vote. And Britain's opposition leader Keir Starmer has assured Israel of Labour's solidarity, and local politicians criticize this because they fear for Muslim votes. It was just 2 weeks ago that the British opposition leader Keir Starmer was applauded at the Labour Party conference. We have all seen that, but that's over. This dispute that is now broken out in his party over Middle East policy is something Starmer cannot win. After Hamas' terrorist attack on Israel on October 7th, the British government immediately sided with Israel, sending 2 Royal Navy ships and clearly condemning Hamas. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak emphasized during a visit to Israel a week ago that he hoped Israel would win the war. And Starmer went along with it, and apparently went beyond the mark for his party. In an interview with the broadcaster LBC, the opposition leader said that Israel had the right to defend itself, and he's right with that. But when asked whether this also meant that the state of siege was justifiable and whether Israel could turn off the water and electricity to the people in the Gaza Strip, Starmer even said, "I believe Israel has that right." And he also said, of course, everything must be done within the framework of international law. And Starmer also did not call for a ceasefire. And what's more, the party leadership has also banned its representatives and local politicians from appearing at demonstrations. In addition, MPs should refrain from making motions in Parliament on the issue of Palestine and Israel. And now Starmer faces sharp criticism, especially from MPs who are angered by their Muslim voters. Starmer's statements have sparked outrage among Britain's Muslim public. They see Hamas' attack as a reaction to what they see as Israel's decade-long unjust Gaza policy and cannot understand why it is now given permission to bomb the Gaza Strip and its civilian population. Well, they should think about the hostage-taking by the Hamas of their own population. But they accuse Starmer of using his words to sanction the collective punishment of the civilian population, which is prohibited under Article 33 of the Geneva Convention. More than 150 Muslim Labour councillors have now called on Starmer to call for an immediate ceasefire in a letter published by the Muslim Labour Network. Representatives of other faiths also do so, including the Archbishop of Canterbury. In addition, 76% of the British public are in favour of a ceasefire, as the letter emphasises, citing a YouGov poll. And meanwhile, 23 Labour councillors have also left the party in protest. In Oxford, Labour has therefore lost its majority in the city parliament. Some of these local politicians accuse Starmer in this letter of saying his horrendous and dehumanizing rhetoric had forced them to resign. An opposition leader could be expected to adhere to international law, they say. Starmer should immediately demand an end to the bombing of Gaza, a ceasefire and UN troops at the border crossings from Israel, as well as lobby the British government to stop supplying Israel with weapons. In addition, the muzzle should be lifted immediately so that Labour politicians can stand in solidarity with the Palestinians. The third major pro-Palestinian demonstration took place again in London at the same time. And every Saturday around 100,000 demonstrators, largely Muslims, marched through the capital and other major cities. They shout and chant under the Palestinian flag, "Freedom for Palestine." And the saying is often heard, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." We all know what that one means. And numerous Muslim Labour politicians, as I said, still are putting the pressure on Starmer. But we really have to talk about this. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That is definitely a call for the extinction of Israel, and that is completely unacceptable. And the other thing is, people really like to mix up things here. If you have followed my channels for a long time, I was very critical of the politics of the Israeli government, of their handling of the settlement policy, of their handling of internal policy like the justice reform and a lot of other things. But this is no reason for a terrorist attack. And the Conservatives see it the other way around. The leader of the Scottish Labour Party, Anna Sawar, for example, has now deviated from Starmer's stated line, not Conservative, the Labour Party. As the child of Pakistani Muslim parents, he accused Israel of breaking international law. And Starmer has reacted to this and tried to revise his position somewhat in the last few days, so he's, pendeling there. He demonstratively visited a mosque, met with Muslim MPs and modified statements. And on Wednesday, Starmer published on X that the aid reaching the Gaza Strip was not nearly enough. And he therefore said several times that petrol, water, electricity and medicine had to be restored both from the border crossing in Rafah, that means via Egypt, and from Israel. And that he supports a humanitarian pause. He deliberately did not use the word ceasefire. There is too great a concern in British politics that Hamas could use a supposed ceasefire to rearm, and they wouldn't be wrong with that. And latest leadership has not always had to keep the interests of its Muslim voters in mind. Historically, Labour used to be the party of the Jewish minority, often from Eastern European countries. The inner party group, Jewish Labour Movement, was founded as early as 1903, and Jewish representatives held high positions in the party. And from 2010 to 2015, Ed Miliband, the son of Jews who immigrated from Poland, led the party as opposition leader even. He and his brother, David Miliband, were ministers under Prime Minister Gordon Brown. But that changed when Jeremy Corbyn took over as leader of the opposition in 2015. In 2009, he approached Hamas in an almost naively pacifistic manner, inviting members to the British Parliament and calling them friends, something he says he regrets today. Corbyn put the Labour Party on a socialist course, and he tolerated the anti-Semitism of the extreme left in the party and the anti-Semitism of the increasingly strong Muslim party base. He even praised the American artist Kaylin Ockerman, whose graffiti picture in East London showed caricatured Jewish greedy bankers playing Monopoly. And we know those pictures from the past of my country. Anti-Semitism in the party became so severe that Jewish MP Luciana Berger resigned from the party in 2019, and 2 investigations into rampant anti-Semitism in the party followed. Berger is back in the party today after Starmer shifted Labour's course again as the new party leader. And Corbyn resigned after a devastating election defeat in 2019. By then, Keir Starmer had been the Attorney General, prosecuting terrorists and defending death row prisoners around the world. And human rights are his speciality. And at the age of 52, he entered politics not only to reform the British Public Prosecutor's Office, but to achieve something in the country, as he said. When he took over as opposition leader in 2020, his first goal was to rid the party of anti-Semitism. And the party had repelled too many voters with its extreme left-wing politics and this anti-Semitism. So Starmer took a consistent approach. When Corbyn described the investigation into anti-Semitism in the party as completely exaggerated, Starmer expelled him from the party. And not just him. And Starmer brought the party back to the center politically with some kind of success. And according to previous polls, 45% of voters would vote Labour in the next general election and only 27% would vote Conservative. However, these surveys were taken before the Hamas terrorist attack. And now Starmer first has to deal with a crisis in his own party. And the Middle East war is far from over. And just to make one thing very clear, yes, I lost subscribers because of it, but you know that I am standing absolutely to my opinions and to international law. As I mentioned earlier, I criticized the Israeli government for a lot on my other channel over the time. But this is not the time for that topic now. We're not talking about the general discussion of a two-state version that a lot of us are thinking about when we think about Palestinians and Israel. The existence of Israel is non-negotiable. The right to exist for the state of Israel is non-negotiable. But a lot of people demonstrating, not only in London at the moment a lot, and all this from the river to the sea speech is extincting the state of Israel. There must be an end to this terrorism to come to a proper solution in the Middle East. With terrorism, they will never achieve something. And the Hamas is a terrorist organization, period. And this was a terrorist attack on Israel, period. And Israel has the right to defend itself. And Israel, a lot of times, told the people in Gaza City to go to the south because they have to act against the Hamas. The Hamas is a terrorist organization. There is no war between two countries like in Ukraine. There is a fight of a country defending itself against a terrorist organization. And a terrorist organization that gives how do I say this without being banned here on YouTube? They give a damn on international law. They are a terrorist organization. So they put command centers below hospitals, in mosques and whatever. They don't care. And they are holding their own people hostage as human shields. That is what's happening. And Israel is doing everything in their power to save those people. But they are held captive by their own terrorist group, so they cannot leave. And that's why Israel waited so long before acting in Gaza directly. People really need to get to their perspective here. And Israel has the right to defend itself. And defend itself means take out this terrorist group. And the other thing people are never talking about is the leaders of this terrorist group. They are living a great life. The people in Gaza don't have to suffer for a long time because the Hamas is rich. And their rich leaders are sitting in some 5-star, 6-star hotels somewhere in other countries ordering these terrorist attacks from their president's suites or whatever. They own companies, at least what we know, worth $700 million. And they live a great life. And then they send out their people that are stationed in Gaza to attack Israel, to attack innocent civilians. I heard today that one of the Germans that was kidnapped has been killed by the terrorists while holding her captive on our news. I will not go into the details because that was a little bit too much for a lot of people. So I will leave it at that. And you, if you're one of those defending that, you are siding with that, get back into perspective. And if you want to see something else that is not that serious, the next video is here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.